Hey everybody, welcome back to Guntown, Minnesota. And today I'm going to tell you about a product sent to my channel by Redwin Optics. This is their 3-18 Torero, and I'm pretty excited to tell you about it. I'll start off with some specs. First of all, the magnification range is 3 to 18. The objective lens diameter is a 50 millimeter. The ocular lens diameter is 36. The tube itself is a 30 millimeter scope tube. The diopter compensation, it can go -2 to +2.5. Exit pupil is going to be 10.5 millimeters down to 3 millimeters. The coating, it is fully multi-coated, believe it or not. That's pretty cool. Standard click value, it's going to be 1/10 mil per click. Total elevation and windage is 17.4 mils. The reticle on this one is a mil-based reticle with 2/10 breakups. It is called the MRT-2. Illumination has 6 settings. It is waterproof to IPX7, very impressive. Fog proof, I think this one is nitrogen purged, I believe. And the parallax goes from 10 yards to infinity, really cool. Field of view is going to be 33 feet to 5.5 feet at the least. Eye relief is 95 to 100 millimeters. That's right around 3.5 to 4 inches. The length is around 13.5 inches, and the net weight is advertised at 760 grams. What you've been seeing here are some of the things that come in the package, some really neat add-ons and additions here. I think it's a fantastic deal at the around $200 price point. It also comes with this parallax wheel. I only had minor issues with the parallax wheel because of where I placed my rings. It just ran into it a little bit. I'll show you that in a second. But the parallax wheel itself, even without the additional larger size ring, works pretty well. But if you throw that on there, if you don't run into rings like what I did there, it actually really helps you tweak it to be a very sensitive dial. It's already very smooth, works well, but it allows you to just finesse that a little bit more if you're into maybe like field shooting, air rifle shooting. It does come also with a scope shade. That's another one of the add-ins. I think for $200, how many things come with this optic? It really had my attention, and I was actually a little worried because I was worried about the quality of the glass if it came with so many freebies, but that's not going to be a concern in this review, guys. Don't worry about that at all. I actually think for $200, this is going to be a really banging optic. It's pretty cool. It does come with a set of scope cap covers, some plastic ones, and they work decently. These are not the most expensive, but for $200 to come with scope cap covers, I'm pretty pleasantly surprised with that instead of just bikini covers. So that's cool. The ocular lens there, the reticle focus, is nice and smooth, has plenty of range of travel. I just noticed that the flip cap cover comes a little tiny bit loose over time with that. It seems to be just a little bit light. Could maybe use a little tighter fit. You could put a piece of electrical tape and fix that immediately. No big deal at all. The magnification ring is very, very smooth on this. For a $200 optic, you know, I've had $800, $1,000 optics where there was grit or it wasn't smooth or was slop, something to that effect. This has none of those issues. It's very, very smooth. And I shoot most of the time at about 10 power. If you notice that cattail or that mag assist lever there, it kind of sits in the way of the bubble level that I had there. So it would be nice to see in a future rendition of this if it maybe had multiple positions for that. I'm seeing a lot of scopes have multiple positions that you can put your mag assist lever, but I'm not going to complain too much. Again, a $200 optic that comes with this, and it's removable, works really well, very smooth. I didn't even need it. I could still move that just by hand. There's enough texture on there. Does really well. But if your bolt knob's going to run into it, kind of like my Savage 10 here with that extended bolt knob, I can just remove it and move it with my fingers. I can move the ring with my fingers, no issues. Very, very smooth. Working on the windage and the elevation here, just testing that out a little bit. And just occasionally it would hang up a little bit as I was returning it back to 0, because these are lift to operate, which is actually really neat to see in a $200 optic. Having lift to operate turrets that actually do track properly is impressive. I love the direction I see turrets going nowadays. So many of them are working really well, and this one's no exception. Although the reticle itself is probably where I'm going to put most of my effort and my time, because it's very, very true, and there's probably no error in the reticle. Looking at this, it's a very simple way to slip the scales and return it back to 0. It does not have a 0 stop, but that's okay. Again, for me, I'm going to use the reticle most of the time, but if you just really feel like dialing and that's the way that you like to do it, I think you can get away with dialing on these turrets for a little bit of the range. 17.4 mils is what they have internally, and this is what it's like to return it to the witness mark there. little bit of clicking and then back down, and it just kind of favors a little bit left or right of the witness mark, but not an issue, not something I complain about, especially at the price point. Taking a look at that parallax there, nice grip, nice texture to it, very, very smooth even without the extended wheel on there. Goes all the way down to 10 yards. I love that. I just said that in a most recent review. I love optics going down to 10 yards with their parallax, so that's very cool. Has 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75, 100, 200, 500, and infinity. And you know what? From my eye, it actually lined up on the witness mark. The parallax appeared to be accurate, and so that's really cool that it's calibrated apparently accurately for my eye. I like that the illumination knob has 6 settings, and it has off in between. Very tactile, very clicky. Runs off of a standard, I think it's a 2032 battery, just like all the rest of them. The same way that you install it, just with that end cap. And it's done really well. This is a very impressive $200 optic. I'm very surprised. I kept looking for where the hang-up would be or where the catch would be, and there's just not. At $200, this is a steal, and everything seems to function just as it should. All right, so I threw it on my Savage 308. It's a good rifle to do a little bit of recoil testing on and make sure everything, doesn't shift. I don't want to see the reticle shift or anything come loose, and this is a good rifle for me to test it on and put plenty of rounds through just to make sure it stays zeroed as well as the reticle doesn't shift on me. So here I was shooting at 300 yards. 1.3 mils is my data with 175 grainers. So nice clean impacts, just easy, real easy. Actually, glass quality is way better than this. I was suffering from some mirage there. And moving on down to the 6-inch target, I believe that's a 6 that I'm about to shoot right here. This was just super easy, guys, and I apologize that the image isn't perfect. The device I used to record some of my scope camera footage was just moving around on me a little bit because that 308 does have some recoil. Now, looking at the reticle, it's very functional. It is the style of reticle I like a lot. I like the 2/10 breakups. I like that center mass that you see, kind of that quadrant of 4 with the center dot, and the center dot does get lost if you go down really low, but you have those thick bars on the sides coming in. So if you needed to take a closer shot on a deer or an animal at 3 power, very, very close, again, it goes down to 10 yards in the parallax, those thick bars are going to train your eye in to where the center of the glass is, and the rest is just like using kind of any other optic where you're going to have thick lines on the sides, maybe an LPVO that you've used in the past, and you take it down real low on the power and you get those thick lines that come in and center up your eye. And then as you increase magnification, that reticle is very nice and clear, and the glass, again, ignore the mirage, ignore the lack of clarity in the image. This is just my phone having trouble focusing through that image. To my eye, it was very, very good. Even with the mirage, I was able to see those targets well. The reticle was etched nicely, and I really like the lateral lines going all the way out to 8 on either side, and then you have negative. You have some holdover up to 4 mils above. This is a very well designed reticle, and it doesn't obscure the target. I thought it was functionally exactly how I like to see a reticle. Even if they went down to 12 or 15, I think the glass could handle that. Now, I did throw it on my 308, and then I moved it over to an air rifle because the parallax goes down to 10 yards. So for me, it was befitting to try that out and do a little pop can shooting, testing it out. And if I really like an optic, believe it or not, I will throw it on an air rifle because I shoot air rifles almost every single day, at least a few times a week as a minimum. And so I want a good piece of glass and a good functional optic on my air rifles just because I shoot them so often. And so I did some testing. It was about 35-mile-an-hour winds in the gust. You'll forgive the wind sound in the background. But I'm just showing you a little bit of the illumination there. It's not quite daylight bright, but it does work. And if it's even a little bit cloudy out, you're going to see that illumination on level 6, no problem. There's an impact using my 177 Benjamin 397S. Like that one quite a bit, and just zoomed in a little bit here just to show you what that reticle looks like close up. But I like shooting right around 8 to 9 power when I'm really close or shooting with air rifles, and obviously no issues whatsoever. That reticle is great for holdovers, which is the majority of the way I would recommend using this optic. Instead of clicking for those mils, there's not many mils in there, and I would just prefer to use the holdovers. This is a fantastic entry-level optic. I think at the price point, I'm struggling right now to think of an optic that is MSRPing anywhere close to this, coming with as many features and as good of glass. And I really do mean that. Even with a little bit of the CA that I was seeing in the glass, it's not perfectly ground, it's not perfectly bright, the contrast is not perfect, I know that, but I'm actually willing to compare this against much more expensive optics when it comes to the glass itself. It's pretty darn good, guys. I was very relieved to see how smooth everything was. I wasn't surprised that there wasn't a zero stop. I wasn't surprised at just a couple of the features that are around that $200 price point expected quality. But most of the optic functions like a much more expensive optic. So this is long range capable, it's NRL22 capable, it's air rifle capable, center fire capable. I'm not seeing a lot of limitations on this aside from your skill set, what skill set you bring. There is like a 5 to 30 version of a scope that looks like this sold by Redwin. I am looking forward to reaching out and maybe trying that one out next. If you like this or you tried one, go ahead and comment down below. If you're looking for a link, check out the comment section. I'll try to post something there. And I do expect to have more footage and more content with this coming out soon. Thanks, like, share, and subscribe.